Hello students, in this video I present the foundation for rhetoric and professional communication using the Buddy McCormick memos. These are three memos written in three stages. The first one is the first attempt, and the second attempt, and third the same. Now I want you to read each of these memos, and then I want you to grade the memo based on our PRIOS criteria. PRIOS is an acronym for Purpose, Reader, Information, Organization, and Style. And PRIOS is the guiding frame for this course, not only for my grading of your written products, but also for thinking about and understanding how writing works. So let's start with the first one. Let's envision that Buddy McCormick works in a mid-sized organization, 200 or 300 employees, 5 or 6 divisions, and he's been working on a project, and his direct supervisor, Kent Skelton, asks him to give him a progress report on an engineering product that he has been doing. Now, let's read version number 1. And then I'll take you through my assessment and grading of version number 1. So if we were to grade version number 1 using the PRIOS guideline, Purpose, Reader, Information, Organization, and Style, how many of you would give Buddy McCormick more time based on version number 1, taking on the role of Kent Skelton? In other words, if you were Kent Skelton and Buddy McCormick needed more time to do the work, would version number 1 accomplish that? Would it accomplish its purpose? And no, it does not accomplish its purpose. I would probably give version number 1 a D or an F. So, for example, out of 20 points, I'd probably give it a 10. Let's now go to the reader, which is how sensitive and effective and detailed was this for the reader? Now, if Kent Skelton and Buddy McCormick worked on a daily basis and they worked together, and Kent Skelton were totally up to speed on what Buddy McCormick was doing, maybe the reader grade wouldn't be so bad. But since Kent Skelton oversees 5 other divisions and isn't intimately aware of what is going on, this version number 1 is not designed for the reader. It does not present information that the reader needs to know in order to give Buddy McCormick more time. So I would probably give it a 10 as well. Information. Does it contain sufficient information? Is information ethical? And this is perhaps the worst of the 5 categories. This is so sloppy and so lazy. It doesn't give any information other than he's worked on it and he wants more time. I would probably give it a 4 in information. Organization. How well organized is version number 1? It's kind of hard to tell because it's so short. What you will see, though, it's also missing a date on the memo heading. I would probably give it a 14 just because there's not much organization to it, so I can't fault it. Style. This is an interesting thing. Style means the kind of persona or persona that comes across, as well as grammar and standard American English. If you were to envision Buddy McCormick based on this version number 1, what kind of person is he? He actually comes across as sloppy and lazy, even though his grammar and style is excellent. Because he comes across as lazy, it's not developed well, it's not organized well for the reader, the style grade is going to be not very good. Even though his grammar is perfect, I'd give him a 12 on the style. So as you'll see that this memo gets what, a 46 or 50 out of a possible 100 points. Now I can imagine that Kent Skelton responded to this version number 1 the same way we did. So he told Buddy McCormick to go back and develop another version. So Buddy goes back and writes version number 2. Now I want you to take a few minutes and go through this version number 2 and then we'll go down and we will grade it according to the PRIOS criteria. So based on the PRIOS criteria, the first question I will ask is, how many of you would now give Buddy McCormick more time? Does it accomplish its purpose? And most people would say, it's pretty good. It's C, B plus range. I would give it a 15. The next question is, how well developed and is it for the reader? And I often ask students, how did you feel when you read this? Did it feel like it was written for you, or did it feel like it was a journal entry for Buddy McCormick's work processes? And you will notice that it feels like a journal entry or a story or a narrative. So the reader grade might be a little bit better because it has more information, but it's still not written for the reader. It's written for Buddy himself. So the reader grade isn't very good. Let's go to information. This certainly has a lot more information than the first version, and because of that, information grade is much, much better. However, if you look at the type of information and the level of detail that's there on some of the technical aspects, does Kent Skelton need to know that it was 1.25 inches in warpage? Does Kent Skelton need to know some of that very detailed information? No. And Buddy McCormick does not provide additional information from a manager's perspective, the kind of information that a manager needs. In other words, exactly how much more time, exactly what are you going to be doing to make sure this works. So information is better, but it's still not great. Maybe I give it a 14 on information. Organization. How well organized is this for the reader? As I mentioned before, this feels like a journey into Buddy's head. And it's not organized according to the reader's needs and according to the process that the reader will undergo when he or she reads it. It's hard to process. It's like a journal entry. It's like this kind of nightmare getting into Buddy's head. His organization is bad. Style. Let's think about this now. What kind of person is Buddy based on version number 2? Here he looks like a technical person, but a technical person that's somewhat like a nerd because he doesn't know that other people don't love all those technical details the way he loves those technical details. So he doesn't come across as a manager. He doesn't come across as a leader. So his style is better than the first version because he doesn't come across as lazy, but he still could improve his style. I'm going to give him a 16. So you'll see that this is much better than version number 1. What is it? That a B minus, C plus range. So Kent Skelton sends it back, and Buddy does a version number 3. Now, please take a minute and read version number 3. And version number 3 is excellent in almost all ways. And I'm not going to take the time to grade it because I would give it A's in all categories. But let's go back through the PRIOS categories so you can understand why I will grade the way I grade and why I think PRIOS is so important. Starting with purpose. How many of you would now give Buddy McCormick more time if this were the memo that Kent Skelton gave to you? And almost all communicators and readers would say, yes, based on this memo, I would give him more time. Why? Well, that's where the other 4 categories of PRIOS come in. Let's go to reader. If we look at this, you can tell that this is written for the reader. It actually has a date. It has more information about who the reader is, about who the writer is. But if you look at the way it's organized, it is organized for the reader. An overview which tells the whole story. And then it has work accomplished, work remaining, recommendation. That organization is for Kent Skelton to process. This is how Kent Skelton would think through this memo. So by putting this memo, organizing this memo according to Kent Skelton's needs, Buddy actually makes the decision for Kent Skelton, or makes the decision easy for Kent Skelton to take. So it's written according to his Kent Skelton's reading processes. It's written according to his information needs, and that's where we'll go to next. We've talked about purpose, reader, information. This has enough information, enough technical information to be believable. It doesn't go too far on the technical information, and it also provides the managerial information, or the information that Kent Skelton needs in order to make a decision. In version number 2, Kent Skelton would have had to have inferred this management information, and would have been a lot more work, and he might not have come to the same conclusion that Buddy did. Buddy helps him come to with version number 3. So the information is balanced in terms of its technical aspect. It provides information that Kent Skelton needs, especially for making the decision. Let's look at organization. This is wonderfully organized. And one of the ways I can tell you that is you can look at this, and from just looking at its design, you know what the content is. And one of my tests is if you put the document far enough away from your eyes so that you can't read the actual text, but you can see the organization from its document design, is that a good organizational scheme? Yes. So Kent has various ways of reading this. He can read the overview, and then he can skim work accomplished and work remaining and focus on the recommendation. So that's one way. Or he can read it all the way through, or he can read just parts of it according to what he thinks is important. Probably what would happen is I would read the overview and say, oh, work accomplished. Yeah, I see they tried something. Work remaining, they need to design a new mold. Then I would go to recommendation. But by organizing this document well, Buddy McCormick provides various ways for Kent Skelton to read and for secondary and tertiary readers to read. So its organization is very, very clear. And it's organized according to how Kent Skelton is going to process or read through this and make a decision. Now, the last thing I'm going to go through is style. If you were to envision Buddy McCormick based on this memo, what kind of person would he be? Now, is he a good engineer? Yes, he's a good engineer. But is he beyond a good engineer? Yes, because he understands how his engineering processes are affecting the rest of the organization and affecting the work purposes for this organization. In other words, he's a leader as well as an engineer. So he has those two profiles or together, which makes him very effective. Does he appear organized? He does. Does he appear intelligent? He does, because he understands the reader's needs and understands how to meet them. Are there any typos or grammatical problems? There are none. So if I were to go grade version number 3, it would be A plus range. Now, what's important to know is that this is somewhat of a natural process of going to version number 1. It's kind of developed. Version number 2 is developed better, but it's in a way that only makes sense to the reader. And then you make this huge transformation from version number 2 to version number 3 by framing and organizing it for the reader using a style that makes sense for everyone. So this is the foundation for this course, and this is what I hope you understand is how PRIOS works and the kinds of transformations that you will need to make in your own writing. Thank you.